Hi, Jay Cadison from Voya Financial, CEO of Workplace Solutions, and you're watching Taking Stock.
Let's rock and roll, folks. 2 minutes to go here until the closing bell. Stocks absolutely soaring on the back of that 2-week ceasefire that was announced just before last night's self-imposed deadline by the White House of 8 p.m. Eastern time, as investors, the American people, really the global community, continue to watch the events in the Middle East unfold. And what a snapback rally we do have on our hands here on this trading Wednesday, April 8th. The S&P 500 expected to finish up in positive territory. This is not a typo. 2.4%. I've been doing this a long time. You don't have very frequently, you have these days of the S&P gaining more than 2%. That's $1 trillion in value that did not exist in the system 24 hours ago. And the S&P is not alone. The Dow up 2.8 into the closing auction. The New York Stock Exchange Composite Index up 2.4, and the small caps, the strongest of the bunch, in positive territory, 3%. Industrials, tech, and discretionary, those are your strongest performing sectors in the S&P 500 for today's risk-on trade, back in full force. Energy, the sole laggard in the S&P. Sherwin-Williams, Caterpillar, and Home Depot, those are your strongest performing Dow 30 components on the day. Downward pressure for Chevron, Verizon, and Salesforce. We now kick things out to the great city of San Francisco, California, for a very rare remote closing bell. The team from HumanX is standing by to do the honors. There you go, Joe Benarosh from the New York Stock Exchange, the entire team from HumanX. They're in the great city of San Francisco. We don't frequently move the opening or closing bell to a remote location. For the team at HumanX, we make a special exception. The S&P 500, your final tail of the tape, in positive territory, 2.5%. The Dow up 2.8. The NYSE Composite Index up about 2.4. The small caps, the Russell, the best of the bunch, up about 3% on the day. Also catching a bid, the airlines led by JetBlue, the banks led by Citi, fintech stocks led by Affirm. The home builders up as yields across the board fell in response to that ceasefire announcement. Strong tape today for retail stocks. Deckers Outdoors, the best performer there. And the semiconductors with a nice snapback session led by Intel. Magnificent Seven, kind of an interesting story for some of these tech names, mostly in positive session. Microsoft was an interesting one, giving back as much as 3.5%. It was firing on all cylinders, kind of finished the day flat. Let's bring in our first guest. He joins us via Zoom. This is Dale Smothers, President and CEO of RDS Wealth. Dale, thank you for being here. We're juggling a lot on the broadcast today. First and foremost, let me get your take on this market rally in response to the ceasefire announced by the president last night.
What a day, JD. What a day. There's no other way to say it except that this is what could be a very historic rally. And I think that we will see a little bit of a volatile time here over the next 2 weeks. But this shows that with a path to peace, the market wants to be optimistic. And I believe that you're going to have new money flooding into what would have one day, just 6 months ago, maybe been growth, now is value at the PE ratios we're seeing. I think there's a lot of tailwinds still to come. And what's unique about this, JD, is we're 1 year off of the lows of the tariff scare. Today is our 1 year mark of what was the lows of the S&P 500. So almost a year to date, we see this historic rally again. I think it's a wonderful thing for the overall market and investors alike.
Whether you call it the taco trade, i.e. Trump always chickens out, as many people say, or whether you call it the Trump put, Dale, were you surprised that not quite at the 11th hour, but approaching that self-imposed deadline, we had a release of tensions and a swage of concerns out of the White House and parties at play?
Well, it's no doubt that the Trump put is real. There's no politician in the world that moves the markets like Donald Trump, especially with the tweet or a Truth Social. And, you know, I think cooler heads prevailed here. Unfortunately, Donald Trump put himself in a corner with the threats that he made. But I don't think that the complete destruction of Iran from its civilization, from the standpoint of what he tweeted out, would have been a good thing for the world. Iran's caving in was inevitable. There was no doubt about it. And I still don't think that's quite written in stone just yet, but there will be a open Strait of Hormuz. And I think that what has taken place over the last 3 to 4 weeks has certainly put American dominance at the forefront, with our independence of oil and a continued market rally that we see just simply from this pathway to peace. So was I surprised, JD? I don't think I was necessarily surprised, but whether it was bombing or it was a deal that was reached, I think that once clarity came, the market was going to like this.
Dale, I got about a minute left with you. Let me get your take on some tech names that you like. The Mag 7, 6 of the 7 ending in positive territory. Tesla down about 1%. Microsoft holding on to those fractional gains. What are you seeing across the tech landscape right now, Dale?
Yeah, I think you've got good opportunities for our clients. We're buying Apple, Amazon. We really like Google and NVIDIA. These are the, if you want to call them, the tow booths on the highway of AI. And as traffic picks up, JD, these names are going to benefit. They're going to prosper, and they're going to continue to be benefactors of this continued AI demand. Earnings coming out, I think you're going to see forward guidance be strong. And one of the earnings that we're watching today in this tech trade, the data center play, is Applied Digital. We got to keep our eye on names like that as they come up to see if this AI demand continues into the coming quarter.
Yeah, and shares of Applied Digital having themselves a very strong tape, up more than 10% ahead of their earnings. We'll learn a lot more on that conference call coming up in just a bit. Dale Smothers, President and CEO of RDS Wealth, thank you for being here. And now I'm going to kick things back out to the great city of San Francisco, California. That's where the stock exchange's very own Ashley Mastronardi is standing by with the CEO of HumanX. Ashley, take it away.
JD, AI is on the agenda at the HumanX 2026 conference. Joining me is Stephen Weitz. He's the CEO and co-founder of HumanX. How does it feel? You just rang the closing bell at your conference. What was the moment like?
It just feels iconic, where there's amazing new and old technology coming together. This incredible historic bell mixed with the most amazing AI entrepreneurs and innovators across the entire planet. So it's a very cool juxtaposition of all technology put together.
HumanX started last year. This is the second annual conference here in San Francisco. How has it evolved since AI has really been becoming part of the mainstream?
Well, the event itself has evolved by doubling in size, which is incredible. So 6,700 people are here in San Francisco from everywhere, from folks who are funding it to building it to deploying it. So that part's really great. But what's evolved in the industry, and therefore with us, is the ability to do mass personalization. I know it sounds wonky, but basically being able to say you need to meet these people at our events and building a community that can then be year-round. So you don't have to come to a single event to get the information you need. You can be matched up with folks who can help you and therefore spread this learning across the globe more effectively.
Do you think 2026 is the year of AI, or do you think we're going to keep hearing about it for years and years to come, maybe decades?
I mean, certainly the velocity with which it's progressing is probably unlike anything else in human history. If you think about the technological revolutions we've had over the years, the speed that this is changing, at which it's changing, and the impacts that it's having across the world is unprecedented. So I think we're going to continue to see the speed increase, and we're going to continue to see innovations be amplified and multiplied as these new technologies come to the forefront of the use and of all the work we do.
The event was held last year in Las Vegas. This year it's in San Francisco. 2027, it's going to be back in Vegas. Is there any strategy behind picking a location? Is that a strategic decision?
Well, sort of, but also, frankly, San Francisco is just getting so popular that this venue, Moscone Center, which is incredible, was full next year. We couldn't come back next year, but we are so excited to go to Las Vegas, to Mandalay Bay, where the event can be even larger and have a more communal feel, if you will, because people they're there. They won't necessarily go home or go to their office. They'll be there to be part of the community and be active in that community.
Have you learned anything new so far at HumanX 2026?
Lots of things, but the thing that probably is most resonant is that there's this incredible optimism among people here, And there's also some fear, and it kind of lives in a duality inside of people. So they're very excited about what's coming, and also cautious about what it might mean for not just them, but for their communities, for the governments, and for companies as a whole.
You talk about that fear. Do you think we're in an AI hype cycle, or do you think that this is here for the long term?
Well, certainly I think there is a lot of hype in the area. At the same time, and what we do here at HumanX is try to bring that temperature down, really add more light than heat. And I think that's what we're doing here, to celebrate the things that actually are working and still celebrate the hype. Hype is necessary for tech in particular, but to make sure that we are focused on what's being deployed, what's working, what's not working, and how people can actually take AI forward.
What is working right now?
Oh man, there's so many things. If you see what's happening in the space around the agentic revolution, people are building incredible new workflows that can take jobs that nobody wants to do and make them more efficient and make it simpler. There's also just great work happening in different areas of every enterprise. You see things in marketing, things in HR, things in finance. But they're very specific, and it's not a panacea. You really have to ask yourself, the companies have to ask themselves, what drives my business forward, and how can I use this tool to make it better, not just where should I put AI?
What can people expect coming up from HumanX?
Well, all year round, you'll get content from us. If you're here, it's great. We know everyone who's here, which is amazing. We'll be taking all the different talks that have been on stages and getting those out to people in bite-sized chunks so they can keep learning all year round. We'll have a year-round community, a year-round dinner series, so many ways to keep the community at the center so we're able to actually bring people together virtually all year round and not just once or twice a year in a city.
All right, Stephen White, CEO and co-founder of HumanX, thank you so much for joining us.
Anytime.
Congratulations on ringing in the closing bell. We are going to go to a break. JD Durkin will have more on the other side.
Let's do it, folks. Welcome back to the show on this Wednesday edition of Taking Stock. Eric Queetham joins us now, founder and CEO of Velocity, down here on the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange. My man, it's nice to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Talk to me about your focus on back office infrastructure, and what does that actually mean?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think for a long time you've seen a ton of investment happening in and around payments. It's been very focused on the consumer experience. I think for the first time you're now starting to see a focus on the back end. How does the money move? How does settlement happen? What are treasurers thinking about, and how does that experience get better? And I think stablecoins is is the solution to solve that, and we're starting to see that come to fruition.
Yeah, it's been amazing to me to see the frequency of stablecoin conversation shift over the last several years of my career. Once upon a time, maybe we did interviews like this maybe once a month, and now it seems like we're doing them by the day. How do you see the Goliaths in financial services viewing stablecoins, especially after the latest news with MasterCard?
Yeah, I think the MasterCard deal is incredibly validating that stablecoins are going to be a core part of the payments and treasury and banking infrastructure going forward. They're here to stay, and I think you're seeing a ton of investment both in new companies like ours as well as the big boys who have been around for a long time figuring out how to make their products and services better off the back of stablecoin capabilities.
Are there problems that you feel you're solving that most people never see, but that every company ultimately feels in one form or another?
100%. I think a lot of people don't realize that, when they swipe their card at a terminal, the money that actually needs to get to the merchant hops 3 to 4 times before it gets there. And every time that money moves, there's complexity and there's opportunity to improve that. And those are some of the problems that we're focused on at Velocity.
Who controls the rails? Traditional finance, crypto native firms? Is it some form of both? Where are we right now in the iteration of the tech?
Yeah, I think what's really interesting about stablecoins is in order for stablecoins to be really effective, you actually need really good fiat rails. You need global connectivity. You need to be able to on and off ramp in real time. And so you actually have to bring the best of both in order to get the full capabilities of stablecoins.
Where are we in terms of stablecoin adoption becoming more and more mainstream?
I think we're really early. We're really early.
Still early.
I think we're still very early. Yeah, I think we're in the single-digit % of organizations who are starting to really adopt it. I think we'll look back in 5 years, and I think every large organization in the world is going to be on chain. I think they're going to be holding stablecoins as part of their treasury strategy, and they're absolutely going to be using stablecoins for some form of payments.
What more needs to happen for increased adoption, at least in terms of mainstream acceptance? Is it regulatory hurdles that still need to be clear, additional rules of the road that still need to be drawn?
Yeah.
Where are we? But what more needs to happen next?
I think we're actually in a pretty good spot from a regulatory perspective. I think the major kind of G5, G10 currencies around the world, those regulators have largely put the framework in place. I think what it takes now is just people getting used to operating on chain. One of the things we hear a lot from CFOs and treasurers is, I want to get started, but I don't know how. And there's actually not enough Web3 experience in the world for every large company to build teams. And so what they need to do is start slow and build that over time. And so I think for us, the way we see the world going is it's dipping your toe in now. It's a CFO or a treasurer finding one use case and then building that expertise and building from there. And so I think it's not necessarily like roadblocks that are out there. I think it's just a natural learning curve that all technology goes through.
Eric Queetham, founder and CEO of Velocity. My man, congrats on all the success. Thanks for joining us here on the show. It's good to have you.
Thanks for having me. See you next time.
Don't go anywhere. A lot more Taking Stock coming up live from the big board right after this.
Woo! Yeah!
Oh, hey there. Time now for a few fintech, crypto, and AI headlines for your Wednesday. First up, Solana is up, ETH is down, Bitcoin also trading down at this hour, holding on to 71,398 or so. Next up, the FDIC, that's of course the U.S. government agency that ensures bank deposits, is now laying out new rules for how banks can use stablecoins, which you just talked about in the last segment. It's a key step towards bringing digital dollars into the mainstream financial system. And finally, at this hour, Meta is set to roll out Muse Spark. It is the first AI model from a high-cost superintelligence team as the company seeks to justify billions of dollars in AI spending and catch up in the tech arms race. The New York Stock Exchange's very own Ashley Mastronardi recently sat down with Rasan Shears of KPMG to discuss their joint study with the University of Texas, all about the habits of sophisticated AI users. Take a look.
Audit, tax, and advisory firm KPMG and the University of Texas's McCombs School of Business teams up on a new study focusing on AI in the workplace. The research revealed differences between routine and sophisticated AI use, and it aims to provide companies with a path to identify and scale high-impact AI capabilities. Joining me now is Rasan Shears, Principal and AIQ Programming Lead at KPMG. Welcome to NYSE Live.
Thank you, Ashley. Glad to be here.
So happy to have you. Why did KPMG take a closer look at how employees are actually using AI at work?
We wanted to take a really data-driven approach to understanding how work is evolving with AI. And in partnership with the University of Texas, we were able to really unpack the behaviors that are necessary to not just use AI, but get the most from AI.
And what did the research unearth about sophisticated AI use?
What we found when analyzing over 1.4 million prompts across 2,500 professionals, varying in their career state, from early career to those later in their career, is that it really came down to the set of observable behaviors that were driven by persistence, ambition, and intentionality. And what we found in the data was that those users who were really super users leveraged AI as a reasoning partner, really looking to extend their use and what they do. They also delegated complex multi step work with clarity, really understanding how to leverage the tools effectively. And then lastly, we looked at and applied what we saw, and what our people did was really use AI fluently across context. So, in multiple environments, solving different kinds of issues, they really understood how to leverage the tools for the right things.
How did you gather this data?
So, what we did was we captured prompt usage data from across our business, really focused on our users that engage with problem solving and are or focused on our business to make sure that we were able to safeguard the data working with the university so we could conduct this data driven use research.
All right, and what can companies learn from this research about the kinds of AI first behaviors they need to build across their workforce?
It's really focused on enabling those capabilities I talked about, persistence, really creating a learning path, which is what we did to integrate persistence and developing that capability into the way you work. The next is intentionality, making sure that your professionals understand how to apply the AI tools that you've made available, because it's not just about use, it's about your intention with the tool. And then lastly, it's really thinking about persistence in a new and different way so that you can be ambitious in what you ask the AI to do. Because the capability is expanding and evolving, you really need to think bigger and give it more complex things to challenge the AI to help you have impact and really get the return on value that you seek.
When you say be more ambitious with the AI, what are some of the things that you can ask it to do? What are some of the use cases?
Great question. Things like consider yourself to be a certain kind of colleague and challenge me with these constraints, and don't give me an answer that you can't prove is grounded in research. And in addition to that, I want you to pull in other insights and data from other tools and bring that together and show me how you thought through it. So, really giving it multi steps with context, including other tools to be able to provide you answers and perspectives that you can then challenge with your thinking so you can expand the context over time.
All right, thank you, Rasan Shears, Principal and AIQ Programming Lead at KPMG, for joining us.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the show. Time now for a few headlines in the world of startups, raises, and rounds. First up, venture firm Eclipse raising more than $1 billion to back physical AI startups as investors bet that the next wave of AI moves from software into the real world. Next up, Spain's Zupal raising $130 million to build a satellite network for AI, aiming to create a real-time Earth data layer for business, government, as well as global infrastructure. And finally, in this segment, Anthropic set to acquire biotech startup Coefficient Bio. It's a $400 million deal as it expands into drug discovery and the race to apply artificial intelligence into the world of healthcare. Money 2020, Scarlett Sieber is now back with a whole new edition of Jargon Translator. That's, of course, where she puts complicated fintech terminology into everyday usage that even simple people like me can understand. Take a look.
Welcome back. I am Scarlett Sieber from Money 2020, and this is Jargon Translator, where we break down the finance terms that sound fancy but actually change the game. Today's word, tokenization. No, it's not about arcade tokens, although those are pretty cool and I like my arcade games. It's actually about flipping finance on its head. Imagine owning a piece of a Picasso or a skyscraper instead of the whole thing. That's tokenization. It's the process of turning real-world assets into digital tokens on the blockchain. Why is this a big deal? Because it makes expensive stuff accessible. Instead of needing $10 million for a building, you can buy a fraction for $100. It's like splitting the check at brunch, but for real estate, art, and even stocks. Tokenization also makes trading faster and more transparent. No middlemen, no paperwork, just blockchain receipts, baby. But here's the catch. Regulation hasn't fully caught up. So while the tech is fire, we know that, the legal side is still loading. So next time you hear about tokenization, remember, it's not just, and it's not about arcade tokens, it's about democratizing ownership. That is your jargon translated. Back over to you.
Welcome back to the show. We'll give you the latest analyst calls that move the tape today here on Wall Street. We got some upgrades and we got some downgrades. We'll start with the latter. Roth Capital downgrading a few big energy names today, and it's the appropriate day to do so after that ceasefire was announced. Diamondback Energy, Permian Resources, and Matador Resources. Those three stocks among the bunch downgraded to neutral from a previous rating of buy. Analysts at Roth say all these stocks are at or near their 52-week highs, and we expect, say those analysts, oil prices are likely to move lower in the near term. Let's talk some upgrades given the ceasefire news as well. Morgan Stanley now says they like a few names ahead of earnings season, which is, believe it or not, set to start next week. I don't know how it's already another earnings season. Western Digital, Citigroup, and RTX, that's of course also known as Raytheon. They are most likely to surprise to the upside, say analysts at Morgan Stanley, topping Wall Street's analysts' expectations. Tomorrow here on Wall Street, we got the February PCE inflation print at 8:30. Q4 GDP, the second revision crossing the wires before market open, and initial jobless claims at 8:30 a.m. as well. Your final tail of the tape on this huge relief rally here on Wall Street, the S&P 500 finishing up in positive territory, 2.5%. The Dow up 2.9%, the New York Stock Exchange Composite Index up 2.5%, and the small caps up 3%. That's going to do it for today's edition of Taking Stock. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. Woo!